What are the solutions
All right.
regarding GBV?
Okay, for me personally, as a man,
As a man.
As a man, yes. My first point of departure will be Cameron's point, of which I think everyone should try and apply. So what I do annually is I introspect quite a lot at different points in time, depending on what I'm going through. And introspection will then come down to what you were saying, Uti, who are you? You know, the goals you set, if any, have you reached them? And when you do reach them, what's the next step? You know what I mean? So once you get that sense of self, I think you're in a much better frame of mind to be able to then pour from your cup because it's not empty. So for me, going to other guys and saying, you can't do X, Y, Z, I'm preaching what I'm practicing. I'm trying to create a community that I want to live in because this is how I want to be and this is the space that I want to be where I live with my family and with everyone else, being my family, my extended family at large, being the community at large. You know, this is the kind of life I want to live here. So because I want this, I'm going to make sure that this is there. It is my problem because if it's not, then what's the point of being there? You know, so get those like-minded people. You won't agree on everything, yes, but fundamentally, what do we as a community stand for? Will I be comfortable leaving knowing that, okay, my kids are there? If that's the case, then yes, that's a nice space. The kids will grow up, I will grow up, you know, I'll learn from other people too. It's a space that is nurturing. And then you open that circle and you make it go wider and wider and wider. And I think it's essentially what I was saying when I said that we need a social contract is that we need a new societal norm where a space like that is okay. And we don't care about the noise. Everything else is noise. Leave that noise out there. So the solution come together as people who have agreed with, okay, this is what we want. This is the solution. We are going to raise young men who respect women. We're going to raise young women who respect men. And note I say respect and don't submit to men. Yeah, to a certain level, both of us submit to each other. But let's just keep it plain and say we respect each other. And that's a very, very big thing. And if we can raise them like that, whilst showing them that is the key. Show them the respect, teach them the respect. And, you know, not to say that you must blind them from what the world is like. They need to know what it's like out there. Go be, you know what I mean? It's not going to be kumbaya vibes, lana. They need to know what to go be. So not lana, you will argue, voices will be raised. They need to know it happens. It's natural. You're not always going to have, if you're upset, you're not going to go for a run at 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? But there are ways to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to leave this room. Can we pick this up tomorrow? You know, but so for me personally, I think we need to create a space where we are a positive influence on people around us and basically live our truth and not be hypocrites.
So I'm going to try and keep it short. Social contract, I think we need more leaders, real leaders. Our politicians, our cultural leaders, our church leaders, and even our business leaders are not doing what needs to be done. So men like ourselves, women like ourselves need to rise up and lead. I'm setting up my own religion because to what Cameron was saying, your departure point is your belief. I look at the Muslims, I look at the Jews, and I appreciate what they have. They close out a lot of this external noise and they become the authority figure and they hold their followers accountable. So I'm doing that in my capacity to lead. I think we need to be more present as parents as much as possible. Find more parents for your children that are like-minded to what you're saying. So handpick, if possible, the type of mothers and fathers you want in your child's life. That includes the school they go to. It includes the sporting coaches they have, the church they go to. Even filter your own family members that you want them to be exposed to. And then for me personally, if we can please continue to post the stats, I think they're very important. And I think posting more positive stories about good black men and about good black couples in particular, I think we need more than that, because I know for a fact that a lot of this GBV, feminism, toxic masculinity, men are trash, is funded by American and Europeans that are white, which tells me that there's an agenda. And we need to, if we're not being funded, have an agenda to promote the good amongst ourselves while isolating the bad people, and where possible, teach good boys and good girls how to defend themselves and how to fight against bad people.
So my closing point is, in everything that's happening today, I strongly believe it's prophecy, and nobody can stop it. Regardless of your religion, who you are, it is what it is. But obviously, we have to try and, try and live better lives. Bring the women close, bring the men close. Let's sit down, let's talk. Let's find out the different issues that we are going through, the challenges that we are going through, and discuss them and find solutions in moving forward. And if you find God, I think, you'll be a happy being in this world.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah. So that's what I think.
God thing.
So just agreeing with some of the points, and especially that taking responsibility for yourself and for your families. There is, as bad as we think things are, we still have ourselves and we still have our families. And families, you have almost three options. You have me and my children, or me and my parents, or me and... So there's so many places you can find family, even if your mom and your dad were nonsense or were filth. You still have the DNA, you still are. If they were filth, they were filth. But you need to... But you need to decide, are you gonna let this poison kill this whole tree? Or are you gonna chop off that branch? In terms of you guys draw things in school and you call them family trees, but you're not willing to chop off the branches that are poisonous. They call it pruning. We call pruning. They chop them off, those scissor thingies. But that's us being honest with ourselves and going back to saying that if you're going to be solving violence that is purported to be based according to gender, we need to isolate those people. Sbusiso did X. If I can go, Musa, please go speak to Sbusiso. Sbusiso did X. An easier problem for me to solve. If Sbusiso obviously lets me in. If Sbusiso knows it's a problem. And if I am given authority over Sbusiso. But without those saying, Musa, you and Sbusiso, you're in the same WhatsApp group, you can immediately see how your sense and your logic leaves you. But also, the violence that you're counting still continues either way. So I feel that just us going forward, just in our individual journeys, I have to say for all the people that are doing good, thank you. I have to say for all the women that are doing good, thank you. For all the men that are doing good, thank you. The fact that it's not even out there and published shows just how selfless you are. And once in every 100 years, you pop your head off and they insult you, and you still carry on doing good, I still say thank you. And I think that in these kind of discussions, as tempting as it is, as I said, to take on the brunt of filth, we should never try to get as close as we can to the filth. We should be trying to remove ourselves as far as we can from the filth. So it's not escaping the responsibility of the filth, but the filth is there. We know where the filth is. We have police. We all know that we have a police service. Apparently, the police is given the authority over that filth currently. I'm not given the authority over the filth. Give me authority over filth. Say, Musa, you have a license to kill anyone that is filthy. Then you can hold me accountable for any filth in my location, in my area. You get what I'm saying? It's a give and take. Because we think that we can give the response, but no ability, as you said. You want me to respond, but you're not giving me an ability. But that's where I see it, that as far as I'm going, and it may sound harsh, things are going well in my life. I don't have filth in my life. And I'm not going to start adopting or making it up or okay, maybe that's a what? Okay, it's not filth, it's a filth culture. And trying to force it in somewhere to be part of a trend or an agenda. That's not a proper agenda. That's probably a propaganda, in essence. I'm done.
Hey, I wanted to say something quickly. As the victims, the female victims' faces always trend. but never the faces of the perpetrators, to what you're saying about uSibusiso. Whereas it's almost the opposite when men get killed, like Flaba, or when children get killed, the woman's face is isolated to it's that woman. And it's not just pictures of these kids that were killed by women. Sorry. Next person.
Let's go with that. Why are you raising that?
Because again, Uyinene Mkhwetjana was killed, and as long as we just only see her face and not the man responsible, it's almost like every man is responsible. Versus, I mean, we've seen this even with America, or white people specifically. When a white psychopathic, apparently sniper goes out, it's him. It's not white people. They killed George Floyd and his face was trending and not the face of this guy. So going back to what I was saying earlier, I have a problem with the fact that we're not isolating filth. It becomes here's the victim, you men. No, but it was uSibusiso. The same way Makuzotiwa Flaba's face didn't trend, but everyone kept speaking about this victim, not women are killing us, it's her. That mom that killed her 4 kids, it's her. It's not the faces of the kids. Don't forget this child, don't forget this child, no, they focused on the mom. So we'd also like that as men, which guys, can we please focus on the perpetrators? Because if we only want to post the victim and then it's blurry who the perp is, then every man then is obviously the perpetrator.
For me, the whole conversation today, I just realized I'm very angry. No, I realize, I think you keep on saying they are good men and I'm annoyed. I'm like, what good men, you know? And sitting here listening to you guys, I realized we needed to do this more because there's always this wall, but nipa silap and Tina, we just angry. And that's all I knew. I came here and I'm like, whatever these guys are saying, it's you know? And I think it's a good thing because now moving forward, I need to be more accountable also with the men around me to plant more positive in them also, because we spoke about something that we also don't speak well of Amadod, but we want to end up with Amadod. All right. But andazi basizowafuma naphi. But anyway, we continue doing that. And I'm talking particularly with me that I want to end up with a kind man, a nice man. As in, when you go to therapy, write your dream man. Hey, nyambala man, ula. But now when it's time to interact with men on a regular, I switch off. I'm angry. You're saying they are good men. I don't believe you.
Yes.
You know, and I think the more we engage with each other is the more I know about, okay, cool, see, right? Because even when we started, it was stated that we can't even communicate in relationships. Sikhona, maras. We're not moving in one accord, but we want the same, we want dope results, but how are they gonna work out when I don't believe in you?
Yes.
And for me, that's what I got from today's conversation, which for me was very important because I still felt like I might be around. I have a brother, I have a father. I'm angry at them. My dad, I'm just like, he was just there for sure. But that's a wrong way of looking at it because he wasn't just there for show. Clearly there's something that was happening, whether it ended up with me being angry or me respecting men. So that's where I am.
You think more black men and black women must sit with each other and speak about these things?
Yes, because I think sahlukanisiwe by the system. Our men became comfortable with not being with us. Ibhulu belingamove to another province without umfazi wakhe. But thina umyeni wakho uyahlala ngapha aphile ngalendlela aphila ngayo. And you must learn to survive without him. And he also learned to survive without us. Then they raise us. Then we must now do this Hollywood love story. Because we don't know it. Even with my parents, they lived together, but they were distant. They just existed. So for me, it was very important that we really converse. When I used to do church with white people. They're so connected with relationship, labantan. It's so easy ukshada. Like it just, they move. It's natural for them. But for me, when they came to me and they're like, would you see someone? I was like, no. It's not easy for me. I must really think hard. Banzo chat. Because of what is being shown around media everywhere. Ndoyika.
I think it's what Upeno was saying. Look, it's actually become a weird manifestation of conditioning now that we're at, where, again, our default setting is, you know, and you have to ask yourself, the agenda's there, say, born already, you're already thinking, accordance are even up. You know what I mean? And it's actually, we need these constructive conversations where, I can call you out and say nonsense, you know what I mean? But I think I'm actually trying to correct you so that we can mend this relationship. Yes. Because I'll tell you now, as resilient as we are as Black people, if we were to actually really come together, man and woman, yes.
Fireworks.
Personally, I just think, yay, yes, yay, guys. You know, and we see it because, again, what we see out there. You know, that's where the problem is, because also you've now socially been conditioned that men are rubbish, men are trash. I mean, have you ever heard a man say women are trash? Even when some women are trash. Have you ever heard a man say that? Not a chance. We don't tell our kids that, but women will be the first to say, hey, nonsense, no. You know what I mean? So we need to fix and mend this relationship between man and woman. And then I think a lot of our issues will actually literally be very trivial.
100%.
What I took from this session was a lot. I'm just glad one of the things, coming into the space, I didn't like the notion that gender-based violence or violence had a Black man's face, had a Black woman's face. And I'm glad that we were able to break down that stereotype, because at the surface of it, like you're saying, there are good men and there are good women. But at the same time, like I came conditioned and I was ready for battle in the conversations. I was ready to come into battle because truth of the matter is, haribui. And there's this conditioned idea that Black men hate Black women, Black women hate Black men. And these conversations need to be had because they have to make us uncomfortable. In order for us to actually get things done, we need to get to the uncomfortability of whatever we are living in. In order for you to fully identify with self, comes with retrospect. And you being retrospective of yourself means you need to answer, you have to question, you have to give yourself uncomfortable questions. For you to evolve, there needs to be level of uncomfortability. So what I've taken is that we need to have an identity of self, and also of community. But in order for that to happen, we need to be uncomfortable. Because right now, we become complacent and we become comfortable. And because we are comfortable and complacent, that's why conversations such as cliques become such an emotive thing. Because, we have a rah-rah about it for like a week. We get over it. We still are not doing the right things that need to get us there. We're not evolving because we are still comfortable. And us being mavericks in our economy, in our politics, in our society, we need to become uncomfortable. That means as much as you may not see yourself as a leader, maybe you need to step up out of your comfort zone and be the leader you want in your society. Amen. Another thing I've learned is accountability. The word is so simple, the word is there every day. But in today's topics, it's come out frequently because men and women need to be accountable in trauma, in them processing their trauma, in them taking out their trauma, and them taking out their violence, because we're discussing earlier on, women may not physically bring out the pain or the violence, but they have it in other ways, such as verbal and emotional and mental violence. So men and women need to be accountable. And we need to understand what roles we play in our individual spaces, in our families, in our communities, and in the places we choose to be within family. How are we being accountable and how are we playing a role? Let us, Cameron was saying that for the future men and women, roles, these gender roles or these supposed societal roles need to change. We need to start rethinking. Pen was talking about maybe coming up with our own religion because the Muslims and the Jewish have perfected this idea or this thing or institution that says, this is how we are going to proceed. Cut out the noise and this is how we need to proceed. So we need to have conversations like this that make us very uncomfortable to the point where they make us uncomfortable, we evolve. Because once you become uncomfortable, that's your opportunity to grow and to evolve. So that's what I've taken from this conversation today.
I walk out of this conversation feeling very grateful. I'm filled with so much gratitude simply because I now have hope that my son is growing up in a world where there are good men.
Yes.
Open your soul.
Yes.
I have
Open your
hope.
soul.
I have hope. Because for the longest time, I've been consuming a narrative that black, langaphandle. I'd look at my kids and feel sorry for them. Sometimes I'd feel apologetic, like, why did I bring you into this world? But today I woke out with so much faith and so much hope that a positive future is possible. Because we are starting conversations like this and we're talking about it. I am so thankful to every single human being who makes it a priority in their lives to confront their traumas. Who makes it a priority in their lives to dedicate certain funds in their life to say, I'm going to fix my heart. It is such a priority. I'm so grateful for those people because they do not understand that in that small move, they are actual leaders. We are looking for people who are leaders just so that they can stand by the podium and sound great. We want leaders who actually make the small moves that change society for the better. And it is people who confront their traumas, people who are able to forgive again, people who are able to allow themselves to love again, people who are able to allow themselves to be vulnerable again, to feel is so important. We need people who are able to feel. People are killing each other because they have died to feeling. They have died to compassion. They have died to brotherhood, sisterhood, accountability. They have died to that. They have died unto themselves. They live for nobody else but the moment. They are not responsible. They're not accountable. They don't look forward to tomorrow. It is now or never. I am grateful for people who have chosen to be present, who have chosen to be here, to be part of life, to be aware that they are breathing, inhaling and exhaling. I'm grateful for people like that. Because when the moment you actually become present in your space and you are present with the people around you, you are able to identify whether this narrative is good for me or not. You are able to build a religion when you can identify whether this narrative is good for me or not. I am grateful that my children get to grow up in a society that starts to speak. In a society where men are allowed to have feelings and to express them. I'm grateful, I'm excited for a society where men are able to cry and we do not make them feel weak about it. I'm grateful for a society like that. I'm grateful for a society where men are coming up and it's okay to be a wife in the home and have an opinion that matters, that doesn't kill you. That is so possible. That is so possible. There are women who are living that life out here, but it's not spoken about. So I'm grateful that this is going to go out there and people are going to see that there's more to life than trauma. So people need to be inspired when they watch this, that it's time to live again. It's time to breathe again. It's time to be happy again. It's time for me to look at myself in the mirror and be like, I'm black and I'm beautiful and there's everything good about me to be experienced. I am excited when I leave here. I'm excited that how you define yourself is going to be accepted. Those are the things that we need to start first accepting about ourselves before we can be inclusive about anything else. Because we haven't accepted ourselves. So I am walking out of here feeling powerful. I am empowered by the knowledge that the gents here have shared. Not many gents come into a space and they want to open up even about their childhood. Because they just take everything, package it, and then everything is automated. We are no longer going to be a society that is automated. We are going on autopilot. We are tired. I'm grateful that we admit that we are tired. So this has been wonderful. I am leaving this room a better person. I'm leaving this room, I'm going to be a better parent. And the core basis of it is I am deciding I'm going to be that way. So that's it. People just need to decide. Yeah.
During one of the breaks, I actually mentioned that communication is a skill. And we think that us talking is us communicating, but it's not. Because more often than not, when you speak, you're not accurately articulating what is in your head in a way that the person that you're speaking to can actually see the image that's in your head. It seldom happens that way, which is why conversations take place, and our inability to have constructive conversations is the reasons why we are where we are. Obviously there are histories that have led to that. Gender-based violence, as far as solutions are concerned, is going to come back to there's one solution I have for everything, and I'm going to bring every problem down to ignorance. And ignorance of what? Ignorance of yourself. If you know who you are, you won't have a problem with the world. Because when you see filth, you won't lift your nose because you'll know that you're also filth. If I had to go through your mind, you wouldn't feel so high-horsed. So if you know yourself well enough to know that you're no better than any other human being, that you're trying just like everybody else, that you didn't get some secret code to it, that level of humility will be a good starting point. But obviously to get everybody there immediately is a dream. So the next best thing is be ambitious. Have an ambition. As an individual, I want to live the kind of life where 1 billion people will follow. I'd like to be the most influential human being in 10 years. And the best way to do that is, for me, to help human beings understand just how powerful they are. And the only way to do that is go back to yourself. Just one thing that I'll end off with that's blown my mind for most of this year was the understanding that my physical body comes from the very beginning of humanity. Because there had to have been 2 people having sex, making babies since the beginning of mankind for me to sit here. Every experience they had prior to conceiving of the next generation is recorded in my DNA, which is why the connection to the land is so important. So we've got to get the land back. And we're never going to do that without unity. And we're never going to have unity unless our departure point is Ubuntu. Once you realize that when Ubuntu bako, bupuma Ubuntu kama mako no tatako, and so it goes to the beginning of time, and everybody else has the exact same narrative. The experiences are obviously unique, but there's nothing special about any of us. Then you take your unique experience and you cultivate it towards the outcome that you want because you've learned certain skills along the way. Your parents taught you something. Your community taught you something. Now take the positive things that you've learned from them and apply those consistently, and your life will be amazing just like that. And then you'll see that those people you learned it from will start drawing nearer because, oh, you finally figured it. Now you and I can relate and have a conversation. So start with self, and you've got more than you realize. Ubuntu bako, it's there. You've seen. You know the hurt of somebody walking past you and not acknowledging your existence, so don't do the same. So what do you do instead? Make it a point that when you walk, you smile, because life is good. When somebody sees you smiling randomly walking down the street, it does something to them because you're a mirror. What are you smiling about? What do you know that I don't? All of a sudden, I'm entertaining myself with your smile. So it's important to always come back to knowledge of self. If you know yourself, if you understand how inseparable you are from everything around you, then you'll find yourself in a place where you start accepting everything, even the filth, because you recognize, okay, no, sharp, clearly something went missing. What is that thing? So for me, that humility that comes from Ubuntu is Dima.
Let's put it like this. GBV happened. Let's forget the social media part of it. It happens next door. I think what human beings do, they don't do anything. They just lock their door and they sleep. And then you expect other people to go out there and do something. What are the people here today? What is it that you do when it occurs? And why I'm asking this is that I think at the core of it, human beings are fine with the fact that they're not doing anything. Whether we want to agree with it or not, unfortunately, the behavior is saying that. So I want to know when GBV occurs, it's there. The go biting is happening there, or in flats and it's happening next door. What do you do, Musa, Kwaita, Pen? What is it that you guys do?
It's something that's actually happening right now with a friend. She's married. They're abusing her. So the first instinct is that because we're outside the situation, Mshi, leave him, run away. I mean, that's the first thing. Even every time I've seen topics around it, just run away. Now, what we had to deal with is realizing that it is not as easy as that, because there's so many emotionally and physical attachments to this whole thing. Economically, lo muntu, she's depending financially kulo muntu. So it seems as though when we're talking to her, we're talking to a wall, honestly, because we keep on advising that you can get out of the situation, start a life, but she's been sucked in that situation that she actually doesn't believe that she can actually operate or survive without this person, even though we are abused, we are shy. So that has been our battle, especially when it comes to us talking to other women. It's not as easy as Mshie and we're gonna open a case, because the story is she always goes back there. So this gender violence is also linked to ukutya kwabantu. Is also linked to a lot of things. It's just, sometimes I feel like we do it on a level of you can find another man thing. But now, when you've been living a certain lifestyle, or there's been kids and there's a lot of things going on, it is not as easy as nzopakisha nihambe. So that has been my experience with trying to help a person to leave that situation.
You've never tried to approach the man? Or send men to approach the man?
No.
I think you need to throw money at the problem in this kind of instance, because it's like you say, the first thing is Mshi. Okay, uza Mshi, and then what? You know, then Nina as a collective, as Abanga needs to say, okay, we are Amba, she can stay at my place.
Yes,
oh, okay,
yeah.
I can do this.
There
then
is
it
a
becomes
friend.
a different
There
conversation.
is a friend who actually said that. She said, because she moved in, she bought a house, she said, there is a room for you. You can come in. She's also she adopted a kid. So for her, it's like, you can bring your kids, but the problem is she also, we had to deal with the fact that she's also still praying about it. So there's also those things that we have to deal with, that abantu ba conditioned is that you pray and chinja, and the church has eliminated self-work ngomthandazo.
No.
So there's also those things.
I just want to touch on that. The truth of the matter is, and I'm going to say it again, I'm a Christian. I come from a Christian background. Churches have relinquished responsibility of practicality on prayer. We cannot, something that just is practical. I'll tell you something, in order for someone to change, they need to want to change. The Holy Spirit will touch the person when it needs to. If that person's not ready for that spirit, it's never going to happen. You can pray 1,000,000 times, it's never going to happen. Now, the problem with a lot of churches, they've relinquished the responsibility of actually doing the work and helping people be a support structure. They've relinquished it to prayer, like you've said. But going back to instances I've had two. One, we were out with my cousins. It was the 5 of us. and one guy who's as short as me, my cousin, if not shorter. And we saw a guy outside the mall, coming out from somewhere, coming out the mall, in the parking lot. This guy was busy dragging his girlfriend and, and I could see I could never send my cousin there. That was the honest truth. When I think about it, having these conversations in retrospect, I remember we're like, Tabi, go do something. He's like, yeah, this guy's taller than me, he's bigger than me. Sure. What can I do? And that's true. And then we ended up calling security. Sad thing is, they intervened and she's still left with him.
Sure.
Now, when it comes to these relationships, like you're saying, there's so much to it. Second situation, my neighbors downstairs, it's a young white couple. The guy is very angry, like I have previously stated. Middle of the night, I get woken up by crazy sounds because they live below me. And it's her, she's screaming. I can hear him shouting, and there's things that are banging. And I decide to I get out of bed, I look outside my window, and she's crying. She's trying to run out, but he's telling her to come back, and she goes back. My sister, fortunately, in her room, she also heard it. So we walk out together, and I'm like, the neighbor downstairs, sounds like she's in trouble. So I was like, let me call complex security so they can sort it out. But me and my sister, because it then quiets down downstairs, me and my sister arguing about this, but eventually we don't call the complex security. And I then send her a text and I say, are you okay? If she doesn't respond, then I was going to whatever. She then texts me a minute later, she's like, no, I'm fine. But all in that situation, I could have been wrong in the sense that, and I accept my responsibility that I could have called complex security, whether they stay together or not, after that argument is irrelevant. I should have then played my part and let it sort out, speak, and then security could leave and they can continue. Because, ever since then, they are fine. They're living together. And I don't really talk to her that much. I really, I don't connect. She's white, unfortunately. They continue to live their lives. And I can only imagine the way, and I remember my sister when we first moved into our place, the way this guy was. The first thing she says, like, the way this girl's so afraid of this guy after he tried to attack us, she said, this guy abuses this girl. We had never seen anything. But when that incident happened, it kind of confirmed from the behavior that he displayed with us as well. But they still continue to live together. And I can only imagine, having spoken to people who've been in situations like that, you want to leave him, but you are acclimatized to that situation, whether it be financially, mentally. A lot of abusers, from what I've understood and seen, is that they manipulate you. They make you feel as if there's no way you can get out of the situation without me. So they stay there. And we are often quick to say, get out, get out, get out. So the truth of the matter is we can try and call the police, we can do these things, because we've even heard the police say, these women come and report these incidents, but then they come and withdraw the case. So it becomes a problem. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, until she's ready to leave, there's nothing we can do. And some of them, they've tried to leave, but there's stalking involved. There's threatening of killing. We look at the situation with the woman who was shot dead in the police station. She came to report the situation, and he still came into that space and shot her dead. So there's so many contributing factors to this situation. There's no, yes, tell them to leave, or what am I going to do? I can honestly say someone is in that situation, and I couldn't bring myself to bring complex security in that time.
I think work harder, man. As a human being, so specifically to an incident happening around you, decide how close you are in proximity to the situation. If you're uncertain about the circumstances, you don't know whether your intervention is going to cause more harm, because some people, because somebody intervenes, gets more aggressive and then it escalates. So for me, the question, decide how far you're prepared to get involved. And based on that response, then be okay with that decision as well. because that's the other thing. I'm not going to intervene in most cases. Physically, I'm strong enough. Physically, I can take on anyone. It doesn't mean I should, because the context, for me, overrides whatever predisposition I have. It's got nothing to do with me. Because in most cases, those two people are going to leave together. And as I know violent men, she's going to get the beating for it later. So be careful about being a fucking do-gooder, man. Check your own life. I'm a strong advocate for, if a woman doesn't want to be beaten, she's not going to be beaten.
Turn a blind
Whether
eye.
it's, I'm not saying turn a blind eye, I'm saying deal with it on a case-by-case basis, make a decision on how far you're willing to get involved.
Sometimes
so
you
for
must
me,
turn a blind
generally,
eye.
that'll be a proximity thing. It's not turning a blind eye, I'm looking dead in the eye and I'm deciding not to do anything.
That's
That's
turning
not
a
a
blind eye.
blind eye. No, it's not.
I also feel different about.
I'm
what
not
you're saying
acting
now.
like I'm not acting like nothing's happening. I'm fully aware. I'm saying it's your responsibility. Deal with it.
That's turning a blind eye. The fact that
Okay.
you looked at him doesn't really matter.
Sure, fine. We can say that.
Okay.
I feel different with what you're saying.
Go for it.
I think it would be ludicrous for any of us men see another man beat up a woman in front of you and just don't do anything. I think that's just crazy.
Also,
We don't need to know the actual story. We can see Undang mfake inqindi impama, you know, jump into it and
Jump in.
try.
That's how I.
Here's what I'm saying.
This is how I feel.
Another thing, when, you know, when people
He's
say
not about that.
when people say jump in, sometimes okay, here's this guy hitting his girlfriend, right? Two are thinking, hey, and again, the others are like, not my problem. Maybe three of us are like, this is my problem now. If I stand up, I don't have to go alone. There's 5, 6, 7 of us here. 2 guys stand up. All of a sudden, there's 5 on 1. You know what I mean? Now, when he looks up, you can see which ish. Okay, if this guy looks up and looks at me like I can take my chances with this guy, then and you guys are still sitting there. Calm down. But if we can't rise up together, you don't have to go there, Yom Shaya. You don't have to go hit him, actually. In most cases, it's literally the guy saying that, shit, okay, there's a lot of guys here. Okay, you know, and then he stops.
What if he Murza?
He moves it.
You stand up, you stand up, he moves
Or pulls out a gun.
Yeah, then we try and stop him, Joe.
But this is my point. You've got
But
to
I'm saying,
deal
like
with it on a case-by-case basis.
like you said, dude, look, situations are very different.
Sure.
Situations are always different. Like Pernell just said, with the 5 of us standing, this guy pulls out a gun. Hey, my man. Hey.
The generation-
It becomes a different story altogether. Now you start thinking, okay, am I willing to die for a stranger?
That one generation's guy got killed trying to intervene.
Oh, in the robbery, yeah.
Sure.
And then you
Trying
laugh
to-
at that.
trying to
You
be a
laugh at
do-gooder.
that guy.
And then
because
who's
you're
gonna
a
raise
hero,
your
man.
kids?
Sharp.
You know?
You see why I told you that I'm a hypocrite.
No, 100%.
In that regard, I'm a
But so
hypocrite.
it's very important. At that moment when he pulls out a gun, then it's
What do you do
I'm
then?
willing to die for stranger.
Sure.
That's so important because at the core of it is about this is about me, man. But that's a human man. Hey man, it's about me.
Hey guys, whether
I
it's
would only intervene if I feel like I want to cheat alone. Yeah, maybe. So everything's to my proximity if I feel like I'm safe or not. So if a gun is pulled out, you are saying that innately you're saying that in Donna, I'm not gonna get involved. That's what I'm getting. And it's okay. Because at that point self-preservation prevails over anything.
100%.
And that's what Cameron is saying, which is true. Unless you are telling me, Buddha, that whether gun, knife, you are jumping in.
Mina, I wanna assist. Whether he has a gun or not, I wanna assist, but not recklessly. Angithi.
It's already reckless. It's reckless.
The idea for me is to stop the fight, not to fight the guy.
Yeah.
But Tagufuti, when now he has a gun, now you must stay away.
Can you give Moose and Nels, all right?
Because you're going to go into the sub-points there. I love the honesty, and we need to be honest even in our sincerity. Because a sincerity that isn't honest sometimes damages either way. You go, you try to defend the situation, that guy kills you, the chick survives, the guy survives, you are dead. You're a good guy, you are dead. In nature, you're the good guy. Think of nature, think of the garden, you're the good plant. You die. That other guy, I won't use that other word, maybe it's it's offensive, but that guy that was that abusive, call it abusive, ne?
Yes.
Abusive guy.
Yes.
And the woman who's head of who forgiven the abuser and said, no, we're forgiven, we're sharp. Yeah? Babes no man pinch, just sharp. We're on our next track. No, it's there. Let's not delete that away from it. None of you are making noise about it because even you have moved on.
Yeah.
And that's the honesty that we're in. You are saying, no. So you're going to go die. You're going to make me so angry because you're a good guy and you're going to go die. You, the good guy, are going to go die.
You tell him to walk away.
No, I'm saying there's someone with a gun. He's saying he wants to jump in. I'm just saying that I, as another guy, I'm not even yet speaking about whether I'm going to jump in or not. I'm angry that you jumped in and died.
You telling him he must walk away?
I'm telling him to do the sensible thing. What did he say? Do the sensible thing.
There's also do the good.
Do the sensible thing. Because if we are going to send all the best, you have good people, you're going to send all the best people out to slaughter. And you mentioned one thing, that the good people need to learn how to do bad things.
Sure.
Yes.
Now imagine those good people that need to learn how to do bad things to sort out the bad guys. Imagine we're sending them all into a waste. We're just sending them into a fire and burning them.
Sure.
What's left? Only the bad guys and bad things. Now the stats increase. Because there's no one. All the good people went in straight into a bullet out of sincerity.
Wow.
So this
Front page in the news one day. Trend for a week. Topic for a month. Joke forever.
Jeez. So now to me, this says GBV must continue there.
No, it does not say that at all. I'm just saying that in the honesty that if I'm given authority, I mentioned that my stance is give me authority. If you give me authority, I have something to work with.
Sure.
Some of you were speaking about, so something's happening there in the complex. We need to be given authority, and that's where governments are becoming weak because they're not giving authority to the people that can do stuff. Think of the security guard that you're speaking about. You knew that person had authority over the complex security.
Yeah.
You knew that. That these are the people that have authority over. So that's why you thought that should we call them? Mm-hmm. You had at least that. And I'm just saying that going in without one authority, without information, without permission, without authority, without anything other than, they're going to attack me on social media or I'm just such a good guy, is actually doing, as Cameron said, much more bad. And I'm not even speaking about the couple, I'm speaking about you. And when you are now out of the picture, think of all the good that you could have done that you are not in there. My stance is give me authority. Give me authority, I'm in there. I know that, okay, here's a complex. If someone punches you give me even a measurement of force. A slap, okay, it's a what. If the head tilts, whatever, the force is too much, I have the authority to act. Act.
Yeah.
But without permission, without authority, without information, without anything, with only sincerity, I think we are ingenuous and it's painful. It's a painful point. I'm stressed. I'm using you as an example, but it could be anyone, could be me. I'm not actually speaking to your point. But I'm speaking to the frustration that I am in that case, that are we willing to lose even someone that cares so much against the cause simply for this hoo-ha of he was a sacrifice, he was a hero. Whereas the people that keep doing the bad still stay alive. And that lady will forgive that person because maybe it was just a once-off thing. You don't know that.
That's it.
Are you willing to die?
I'm gonna walk away the next time I say this.
You guys have just killed someone.
No.
Jeez.
Are you willing to die? No. Are you willing to die?
No. Obviously, I'm not willing to die.
Then
That's
don't carry on any further because I'll start calling Mqiniso, man.
No. That's
No.
That's why I
Are you
say.
willing to die? Yes or no?
I'm not willing to
Then
die.
Wait. Yeah, uzochika phela uzofana nathi uzochika. Nami ngizosukuma. Mengisukuma ngiyazi uyasukuma ngithi.
So now, guys, wait, guys.
So, if we're trying to get to a solution for the issue, it's act wisely. You know, and you were forceful in your question because you wanted us to talk about the actual occurrence when we've said that dealing with the occurrence it's not going to resolve the issue because it has a historical root or a track. So just stopping the fight doesn't end the violence. You know, and I think that's the crux of the issue.
Yeah.
Where I'm saying and he's saying that, guys, you can talk about being a hero, but I've been in situations where it was fight or flight, and I fight generally. You know, I do. I know that about myself, but I also know there's certain cases where I'm just like, there's no need. Why am I a referee in a fight that's had no referee for the longest time? Clearly, these people can mediate their affairs. They enjoy this kind of a situation.
It's that rough.
Or you've got no solution, in which case it's far better for me to make a fuckload of money, pay a shitload of tax, so that our government can do a little more than they're doing now. That's why I said work your fucking ass off. If you care about humanity, work your fucking life away. Because in that way, you're tangibly contributing to the rest of us. Other than that, shut the fuck up and get out the way.
I agree with him about authority. I absolutely agree, because my experience with a very verbally violent neighbor, and I came to learn that he was violent with his whole family and he was alone at the time. My experience with that, when I spoke to the police about that, I was advised that when he came from his house to my house with the gate closed, and he tried to assault me through the gate by putting his hand through the gate. I was advised by a policeman, and he said, "Well, you should have opened the gate." What? Should have opened the gate. I was like, open the gate? Yeah. Open the gate wide open so that he walks into your yard. Then close the gate so he's stuck into the yard. Then do nothing to him in the yard. Allow him to do what he wants to do. So, put my body, the safety of my family, the safety of my home, put it up as protest. 1. 2, allow him to do what he wants to do, so that I build cases or charges against him. So one offense is not enough. I have to add more charges so that his cases got weight.
Which is fair in the justice system. It's rubbish.
Like it has to have weight. There must be trespassing.
Sure.
On top of the charge of assault. There must be assault. There must be verbal assault. I must add the charges so that my case is taken seriously. I must put myself in harm's way, my children's lives in harm's way, for the sake of getting justice.
Otherwise, you won't have a case.
Otherwise, I won't have a case. So, from where I live and my point of privilege, how I would respond to an abuse case, say it was a situation ngamlungu, ne? Bengiyofonela ADT. After I'm done calling the ADT, I was gonna call the cops. I'm gonna call the ADT because I know the ADT responds much better and much faster and more immediate than the cops. So, authority, again, yengal. Because the moment I step into a makhelwane wam's house, I stand a chance of being charged with trespassing. And if I prevent the fight and I push him a bit too hard, I get the assault charge. So it's a catch-22 all around. So I think your point, talking about authority, is very valid in the conversation. Had I had the authority to deal with the situation the way that the situation needed to be dealt with, I probably would have had more immediate results.
But I also think our justice, and the honest truth is our justice system is privileged, if I can put it that way. Like you're saying, you need to add on weight to build a case. To people to access that justice system. It's not easy. We say we have a justice system, but it's not easy for everyone to access the justice system. You know, there's always this conversation of men who've abused women, who've killed women, who've raped women. They should be killed, death penalty, the conversation. And like, it's easy for you to bring death penalty as a conversation, but is it really going to work when you don't even have a working policing system? Already,
Are you willing to kill the person yourself?
Yeah, and you don't have
someone
a
else?
justice system that works. In order for me to get to a point where we are able to catch the criminals, to take them to court, for them to have their day in court, for them to be tried, for them to be sentenced, for them to be taken to the point wherever they need to go, we need to have a policing system that works to a point where our justice system works, to a point where we can get to that. But then we don't even have that. I mean, in instances where we can talk about
false accusation.
No, I can even see the false accusation, right? Men who really have beaten up a woman or have raped a woman, but she never reported it at that instant for traumatic reasons. I mean, that's not something that I can appreciate. It's not easy to then, being raped, stand up, get yourself together and go and talk to a policeman who,
Bravely.
for the better part of the situation, really couldn't care, right? But then now you are expected to be normal in such a traumatic situation. Now, let's say you don't report it on that day, you lose evidence because you didn't take the rape kit. Now you want to report this case, let's say in a year or two, right? Now you know who your perpetrator is. It's easy for this person to say, but I didn't do that. And because they have the means, there's no tangible evidence from your side that says I've been raped. They have the means to use the justice system, that's why I'm saying it's privilege, to say, but you don't have the evidence and therefore I'm going to sue you with criminal injuria because now you've defamed my name. So I think in this instance, especially with these situations, our policing and justice system also fail us because it's not working.
I've had many cases of domestic violence. Some of them have been strangers, some of them have been in public areas, some of them have been family members, and then my father who used to beat my mother. When I was young, at some point, my brother and I concocted a plan to kill my father at the time. Sadly, we lacked the balls to execute, but that was one thing we wanted to do at the time. Later on in my life, I went to sit my father down and I offloaded on him the trauma that I experienced from everything he did. And then I tried to understand, why were you doing what you were doing? I believe very much in rehabilitation where possible and in understanding the mind of what we'd call a criminal. Because some things can be resolved. Some things might be context specific where, no, she just stabbed the child, so I'm beating her because she stabbed my child, So you want to try and find out those things. But with the strangers, I've always tried to intervene. I never turn a blind eye to those cases. Luckily, they've never pulled out guns and those things. Mm-hmm. If ever that were to happen, I would call a security or the cops. But I would not be able to do nothing. Even if the outcome is she ends up being dead, I'll be like, as far as I'm concerned, I did the right thing by calling the cops. What happened from there, unfortunately, because I cannot turn a blind eye, but I also won't fight a guy. I'd only intervene to remove him and maybe remove her. And if befunu hamba, I'll definitely let them go. And I wouldn't report it to anyone, but I would definitely do something about it. And if it's someone close to me, I want to get an understanding. Like I said with my cousin and his partner 2 weeks ago, I sat both of them down trying to figure out, Cece, do you want to leave him? Are you scared of him? I spoke to them together. I spoke to her alone. I spoke to him alone. And then I told him, you're going to end up in jail. People are going to beat you to death here. So try and think about, maybe you have anger issues. We can try fix them. You guys live in poverty. That might be one of the problems. You guys need to take time away from each other. Are you still playing soccer? No, I'm not. Look at some of those things, but I believe very much in trying to resolve matters. And where they cannot be resolved, then escalate to a police, to a jail. I wish, to what you're saying about our justice system failing, I wish the law, as African law is no longer top down, but bottom up, where let's start with the community and the family. Let's start with 5 guys circling that guy. Let's start with yourself and your friends and maybe men going to this husband that's beating his woman and try and find a resolution. What's frustrating you? Or do you have a problem that's probably beyond your control? Are you maybe lying to us and we can see you? Then it needs to be escalated. First, mhlambe with both families, let them both know your daughter's being beaten. Like I said, if she ends up dead, you did the right thing. You should carry no guilt. If not, then send it to the police and be done. Hopefully there won't be a clapback for you. And I know some people worry about that. If you ever feel like this person might harm me, then I would recommend you try and walk away. Because they might come track you down and kill you, and that's not worth it.
That's not worth it. So you're essentially saying, don't give up reporting or being of some sort of help.
I'm talking just for myself.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with other people walking away, turning a blind eye. We don't have the same capacities and desires and the same emotions.
Yeah.
And I honestly, probably like Umusa, will not blame you. Which again, now we're going to the sensitivity of men turning a blind eye to GBV. I won't blame good men that are maybe scared or know that it's happened before and this chick went back to him. I don't blame them for walking away, but I know a lot of us are trying. It may not be good enough and the system may not be good enough, but as long as other guys know that we're trying.
Yeah.
But when listen to self
Yeah.
and do what feels right for self. If it means going to get killed for being a hero, we'll celebrate you for 2 days and laugh forever.
But
yeah.
your truth does give me comfort.
Sure.
On a personal level. As to saying, okay, like Cameron said, assess. Assess and make the right decisions for you.
Sure.
What would kill me more, thinking of the situation now, is walking away and finding out that somebody died and I was there and there was one small thing I could have done.
I call
A simple call. If a simple call
and walk
would've-
away, just tell security contents, and
I'd
then
have
walk.
peace.
And be like, I did my bit, I informed security. I didn't give them my names, I just said, hey, sengathi kuyashala downstairs, and then sleep. Someone said there's a fire here. No, there's no fire, there's violence.
Yeah.
I think our legal system is maxed out. I don't think our legal system is failing us. I think we're failing ourselves. And I say that because if you want to end GBV, then start with the family. Because if each of our families are taking care of ourselves, as individuals taking accountability, then no stranger needs to intervene in your child's behavior. And then obviously from that, you build community and then obviously a society, and then we become a continent in that kind of way. Our legal system isn't failing. Our issue is an illegitimacy of our systems. Our political system is not African. Our economic system is not African. Our legal system is not African. So how are Africans supposed to be functioning properly in a system that's not theirs?
True.
So we don't have an issue with how the system's working. It's working perfectly. The issue is it's just not very useful for the rest of us. But it serves its purpose. The issue is that that purpose doesn't have our interests in mind. There's nothing wrong with the system, the same way there's nothing wrong with the people. All of us are working perfectly fine. We can all make decisions on a day-to-day basis. Your strategies may not be very useful for the problem you're trying to alleviate, but as Penel was saying, everybody's trying their damn best. So let's not appropriate blame where it doesn't belong. There's nothing wrong with our legal system. There's nothing wrong with our people. We act perfectly. It's just that our programming is incorrect for the issues we're facing.